So here's a few news articles that I thought were interesting. The big news, of course, is FTX. The number 3 crypto exchange has completely collapsed, gone bankrupt, kicked out the founder, or kicked out Sam Bankman-Fried, who is the only person I ever see associated with it, the main man. And then, after they declared bankruptcy, a whole bunch of money has been vanishing from it. And so they say they've been hacked. Other people say this is fake, which certainly would be a common thing in cryptocurrency, that people fake a hack in order to just steal the money. And people say one of the suspicious things is both FTX, the Bahamas-based one, and the United States one both claim to have been hacked at the same time. But the money is vanishing. And so we'll see. This is so common in crypto, it has a term called rug. They call it a rug pull, where they pull the rug out from under you. You buy a token, you invest in it, then the original people that created the token just sell it. They dump it all, the price crashes, you all lose your money, they get all the money. This is very common. And anybody that invested in FTX was just asking for it. Same thing's true of Binance. They are outside the United States in order to escape all American banking regulations. And when you let them hold your coins, they can just steal them, and you basically have no recourse at all. And that's essentially what FTX did, although to be fair, it's not as simple as stealing them. What they did was they invested in other risky things, and as the entire crypto ecosystem has gone down, they went broke. And in that regard, but they were taking the money that you invested with them, which they were supposed to be holding, and just reinvesting it in other risky crypto projects. And I guess some people thought that was not what they were doing, although I think that's very naive. I mean, what else would they do? And there's more about this that's interesting. See if I can find the right... Here we are. Binance, the number 1 crypto exchange in the world, also outside the United States and not directly available to American investors, although people find ways to go through cutouts to get there. I think I managed to get to Binance. Anyway, they hold $80 billion, $75 billion in reserves, but 40% of the reserves are in their own tokens. And this is essentially the same thing as having no reserves. In fact, this is just what Sam Bankman-Fried explained on a YouTube podcast about 6 months ago. He said, the way crypto works is I have a box. I say, why don't you put your money in the box? And people say, why should I? I say, well, if you put your money in the box, I will print these other tokens and give you some tokens, which will amount to like interest you're getting on your money. And of course, implied is I won't steal the money in the box. But anyway, then he said, why should I pay for these tokens? He said, well, if I issue a token, a bunch of people will pay money for the token, so it has some value. And then the token will float up and down, and I'll just keep airdropping tokens to people who put money in the box, and that will encourage more people to put money in the box. And on it goes. And that's what Binance has done. They've taken real money from people, and they've turned it into their own token, which is just something they printed instead. So you give me your money, and I print a fake $1 bill and give it back to you, and we call this even. And now I have your money, and you have nothing. And that's what happens. Because if that token collapses, which is what happens to FTX, then you're hosed. Now, to be fair, in America, if you go to a normal bank, there's a reserve requirement. The bank also takes the money you give them and they invest it somewhere, which has some risk. And they only have to maintain a certain percentage of it as a reserve, and that's actually not much. In fact, let's see if I can find the current reserve requirement. Because this is the most sensitive adjustment that the Fed has to control the economy. Yeah, the reserve requirement is 10%. So to be fair, your bank is allowed to loan out 90% of the money you give them, and they only have to keep 10%. And that means if everybody tried to get their money out at once, they would not have enough money, and we've all accepted that. But the point is, behind that, we have the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. The federal government guarantees it, so that if the banks collapsed, you would get your money back up to maybe $200,000. So anyway, and there's none of that here. So I'm not sure how much you should be upset that 40% is in their firm's own tokens, although probably you should, because crypto investments are far more risky than other investments. Banks do not invest in crypto typically, although they would like to. It is too risky for them to invest in American banks. And that's the third crypto story that I thought was very interesting, which is the op-ed from the owner of Coinbase, which is the major American exchange, and it's the one that tries really hard to obey American regulations and obey American law. And Brian Armstrong has been complaining for years, probably correctly, that the American regulations do not make any sense. And in fact, nobody seems to know what the American rules are at all. In fact, they don't even know whether crypto is regulated by the Securities and Exchange Commission or whether it is a commodity and much more loosely regulated. And both of those agencies have claimed that they are regulating crypto, contradicting each other. So you have no idea what the rules are. And as he says, what happens is, since the American legal system does not provide any clarity at all to run an American crypto exchange, this means anybody that actually wants to run a crypto exchange pretty much has to leave America to do it, and that causes American customers to go use unregulated foreign exchanges like Binance and FTX, and then they get wiped out. And he's been saying for a long time, you should have some sensible, intelligent regulation in America so people can run an American exchange, which is what he's trying to do, without being at a serious disadvantage, although Coinbase seems to be surviving this crash, doing as well as one could in such a completely crashed economy for crypto. And I think a lot of Coinbase's value, certainly, and I talk to anybody, I say if you're going to invest in crypto, which is highly risky, do it at Coinbase, where you at least have some of the American regulations protecting you. Doing it at a foreign exchange is crazy. Anyway, so I think he does benefit from his attempt to obey American regulations, as difficult as it is. Anyway, and they haven't crashed yet. Anyway, I don't have much more time. I just think Kaspersky's going to kill their VPN service, which I'm surprised they even had one at all, I think. But this is because Russia is pretty much outlawing all VPNs, because inside Russia, people do not know that there have been any atrocities. They think there really are Nazis in Ukraine. They think they're really improving the world. And they're very tightly controlling access to the news to keep their population in the dark about the truth. And banning VPNs is an important way to do that. They're also concealing how many people are actually protesting the war in Russia. And student forgiveness appears to be dying. A judge has ruled that it makes no sense because the president doesn't have the power to do it. Now, he blew right past the fact that the people suing do not have standing. And other legal experts are saying he shouldn't have done that. He cut to the actual substance of the problem. And the Biden administration was hoping that they could get away with doing something that is blatantly unconstitutional because, in fact, it would procedurally be difficult to oppose it in court. And they might still succeed that way. That is the sort of thing that the Biden administration tried to avoid doing, sort of breaking the law because you can get away with it, not because you're actually right. But they have kind of moved in that direction, which is, showing a sort of switch to sort of more ruthless politics and less concern for the structure of the American government, which is, that was kind of the brand of the Democrats, is that they're actually going to hold up the structure of America and not tear it to pieces the way the Republicans have been doing. And this shows a step away from that. But it does look like the courts are stopping them. And we're going to see. It is going to be appealed yet again. And so we'll see. Unfortunately, I think the American legal system is being revealed to be very corrupt. So we'll see what comes of it all. Anyway, let me stop this.